Have you ever made a joke that completely changed your life? That's exactly what happened to Mark Collins, a single father who never expected his birthday wish would actually come true. If you're looking for a story that will warm your heart and remind you that sometimes the most unexpected moments lead to the greatest happiness, keep watching. And if this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible real-life stories that prove truth is often more remarkable than fiction. Mark Collins had been raising his daughter Lily alone since she was 3 years old. After his wife passed away from cancer, he'd thrown himself into two things: being the best father he could be and working tirelessly at Horizon Publishing, where he'd slowly climbed from junior editor to senior content manager over 8 years. His boss, Catherine Reynolds, had always been supportive, understanding when he needed to leave early for school events or when Lily was sick. But Mark had always kept things strictly professional between them, despite the occasional lingering glance or the way his heart seemed to skip whenever Catherine laughed at one of his jokes. It was a Friday evening in late September when everything changed. The office had gathered for Catherine's birthday celebration in the conference room. There were balloons, a cake, and the usual awkward office party atmosphere. Mark had been running late after picking up Lily from her after-school program. When they finally arrived, Catherine's face lit up at the sight of them. "Sorry we're late," Mark said, slightly out of breath. Someone couldn't decide which birthday card was perfect enough. He nudged Lily gently, who was clutching a handmade card decorated with glitter and stickers. Catherine knelt down to Lily's level. "Is that for me?" she asked, her voice soft with genuine interest that made Mark's chest tighten. Lily nodded shyly before handing over her creation. "I made it special because Dad says you're special." Mark felt his face flush as Catherine's eyes met his, a question in them he wasn't prepared to answer. The moment was broken by someone calling for Catherine to blow out her candles. As everyone gathered around singing, "Happy Birthday," Mark watched her close her eyes before blowing out the flames. Someone shouted, "What did you wish for?" Catherine laughed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Can't tell or it won't come true, right?" "Let me guess," Mark said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "A handsome, slightly overworked single dad proposing on bended knee?" He dropped dramatically to one knee, holding out a plastic fork instead of a ring. "Marry me, boss lady?" The room erupted in laughter, but it quickly faded when Catherine didn't join in. Instead, she looked at Mark with an expression he couldn't quite read. The silence stretched uncomfortably until she finally spoke. "What if I said yes?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it might as well have been a shout for the impact it had on Mark. He stood slowly, certain he had misheard. "What?" "Not here," Catherine said, suddenly aware of their audience. "We should talk privately." The rest of the party continued around them, but Mark felt like he was moving through a dream as Catherine led him and Lily to her office. Once inside, she closed the door and turned to face them. "I'm sorry if I made things awkward out there," Mark began, but Catherine shook her head. "Do you know how long I've waited for you to say something like that, even as a joke?" she asked. 3 years, Mark. 3 years of watching you be an amazing father, a dedicated employee, and wondering if you'd ever see me as anything more than your boss." Mark stared at her, stunned. "I never thought. I mean, you're my boss. There are rules about these things." Catherine smiled. "Actually, I checked with HR last year. As long as we disclose the relationship, there's no policy against it since I don't directly control your promotions or salary reviews." "You checked with HR? Last year?" Mark couldn't believe what he was hearing. "I like to be prepared," she said with a small shrug. "Just in case." Lily, who had been quietly observing this exchange, suddenly tugged on Catherine's sleeve. "Does this mean you like my dad?" Catherine knelt down again to meet Lily's eyes. "I like your dad very much. Is that okay with you?" Lily considered this seriously before nodding. "He smiles more when you're around." And you helped me with my science project when Dad didn't understand it. Mark felt something shift inside him, like pieces falling into place that he hadn't even realized were missing. Catherine, I've been so focused on being a good father and employee that I convinced myself there wasn't room for anything else. But the truth is, I've had feelings for you for a long time. I just never thought someone like you would be interested in someone like me. Someone like me? Catherine repeated, standing to face him. Mark, you're the most genuine, caring person I know. How could I not fall for you? Their first real date was the following weekend. Mark had been nervous, changing his outfit 3 times while Lily offered critical fashion advice from his bed. They went to a small Italian restaurant where they talked for hours, not as boss and employee, but as 2 people discovering each other in a new light. Mark learned that Catherine had grown up in a small town, that she played the piano, and that she'd always wanted children but hadn't found the right partner. I was engaged once, she confessed over tiramisu. 8 years ago. He decided 2 weeks before the wedding that he wasn't ready for commitment. Mark reached across the table to take her hand. His loss is definitely my gain. The transition from professional relationship to personal one wasn't without challenges. There were whispers around the office, despite their disclosure to HR. Some colleagues suggested Catherine was showing favoritism, while others implied Mark was sleeping his way to the top. These rumors hurt, especially when they reached Lily through a classmate whose mother worked at Horizon. Why are people saying mean things about you and Catherine? Lily asked one night as Mark tucked her into bed. Mark sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. Sometimes when people don't understand something, they make up stories to explain it. Some people can't believe that Catherine and I genuinely care about each other. That's stupid, Lily declared with the straightforward logic of a 9-year-old. Yes, it is, Mark agreed, kissing her forehead. But we know the truth, and that's what matters. 6 months into their relationship, Catherine was offered a promotion that would require relocating to the company's headquarters in Chicago. It was an incredible opportunity, one she had been working toward for years. Mark was thrilled for her, but the prospect of a long-distance relationship filled him with dread. I'm not taking it, Catherine announced one evening as they sat on his couch after Lily had gone to bed. What? Why not? This is everything you've worked for, Mark protested. Catherine took his hands in hers. Not everything. Mark, these past months have shown me what really matters. I love my job, but I love you and Lily more. Mark felt his throat tighten with emotion. I can't let you give up your dream for us. I'm not giving up anything. I'm choosing a different dream, she insisted. Besides, Horizon has been talking about expanding their digital division here. I've already spoken with the executive team about heading that initiative instead. 2 weeks later, Catherine was appointed Director of Digital Innovation, allowing her to stay while still advancing her career. That night, as they celebrated with a special dinner at home, Mark realized he couldn't imagine his life without her. After Lily went to bed, Mark took Catherine out to the small garden behind his house. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, a setup he'd arranged earlier with Lily's help. What's all this? Catherine asked, her eyes reflecting the tiny lights. Mark took a deep breath. A year ago, I made a joke about proposing to you. It was a joke because I was too afraid to admit how I really felt. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. This time, I'm not joking. He dropped to one knee, just as he had at her birthday party, but this time with a diamond ring instead of a plastic fork. Catherine Reynolds, will you marry me? Catherine's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding was small but perfect. Lily served as both flower girl and best daughter, proudly walking down the aisle before Catherine. As they exchanged vows, Mark couldn't help but think about how a simple joke had led to this moment of complete happiness. At the reception, Catherine's father raised his glass for a toast. To my daughter and her new family. and to the power of taking chances, even when they're disguised as jokes. 2 years later, Mark and Catherine welcomed a baby boy they named James. Lily, now 12, took her role as big sister very seriously, reading to him every night and declaring that she would teach him all the important stuff Dad doesn't know about. Life wasn't always easy. There were still challenges at work, sleepless nights with the baby, and the normal stresses of blending families. But through it all, Mark and Catherine faced everything together, their partnership stronger for having started as friendship and mutual respect. On the 5th anniversary of that fateful birthday party, Mark surprised Catherine with a recreation of his joke proposal, complete with plastic fork. This time, they both laughed, secure in the knowledge that what had begun as an offhand comment had blossomed into the greatest love story of their lives. So if you're watching this and waiting for your own happy ending, remember Mark and Catherine's story. Sometimes the greatest journeys begin with a single step, or in their case, a single joke. Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary memories. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more real-life tales that remind us all that love often finds us in the most unexpected ways. And remember, sometimes the jokes we make reveal the truths we're afraid to speak, so listen carefully to the laughter in your life. It might just be hiding the beginning of your own happily ever after.